Hello everyone, this is Rohan, and in this video I'm going to discuss about foundation plan. Now, I've already made a video about shallow foundations where I have given the types of shallow foundations as well as the typical dimensions for shallow foundations. So it would be beneficial for you if you first see that video and then move on to see this video. I'm pasting the link of that video in the description below. I hope you all watch it. Alright, now let's start discussing about foundation plan. Now, what is a foundation plan? A foundation plan is a scaled drawing of a proposed building development. So, a foundation plan is basically going to show you the position and the sizes of the foundation at below the ground level. Okay, now please understand that I am going to concentrate about RCC framed structure buildings only in this video, and I'm not going to talk about the foundation for the load bearing structures. Okay, because that is what we commonly use these days, that is RCC framed structure. Now the scale of the foundation is usually 1 is to 100 or whatever is the scale chosen for the floor plans. So for our case it is usually 1 is to 100. Now, prerequisites for drawing a foundation plan, that means what you need to have beforehand before starting the foundation plan is you need the position of the columns at the ground level as well as the sizes of the columns at the ground level. That means the center to center distance between each column should be known to you as well as the sizes of the columns. That means whether it is 200 mm by 200 mm or 300 mm by 300 mm or 200 by 300 mm, whatever may be the case, all these has to be known to you. So now let's see what all things a typical foundation plan consists of. Number one is the position of the column at the ground level, as I already told you. Second is the horizontal distance between each column. Third is the vertical distance between each column. This is the first three things that we have to mark to start with the foundation plan. Number four is the foundation provided for each column. Now that may be a sloped footing, it may be a combined footing, whatever it may be. So that foundation for each of the column needs to be shown along with the naming. We have to name these footings. And finally, we have to provide the diagonal checks. Now, I think the first four is quite easy to understand for you. Let's discuss in little what the diagonal check is. Now, diagonal check is usually done by taking three footings at a time. So when you have three footings at a time, you already know the horizontal and vertical distance between them, and three footings at a time will obviously form a triangle. So you can find the distance of the diagonal of the diagonal of the two footings. So how do you find the diagonal? You find it out by using the Pythagoras theorem, that is hypotenuse square equals to base square into perpendicular square. Okay, so what happens is practically when you are setting out a foundation, you usually do it by measuring the horizontal distance and the vertical distance only. But if you have a diagonal distance also, you can cross check, which will improve the accuracy of setting out the foundation. Now let us move on to see step by step that how a foundation is drawn. Right, so here for the foundation plan, first what I have shown here is the position of the columns. So starting from C1 to C14, here you can see the position of the columns have been shown here. So the first thing that we would do is we will draw the center line horizontally from each of the columns and start writing the the vertical distances between each column. This is the center to center distance of each column. Similarly, next what we will do is we will draw the vertical lines passing through each column, and then we will write the vertical distances between each and every column, right? So here what we have in this grid is the position of each and every column as well as the center to center distance of each column, both in the vertical as well as in the horizontal direction. Now each column has to be provided with a footing. Now all the columns here are far apart from each other, so I think sloped footing, that is individual slope isolated slope footing, would be fair enough to be provided here. So if you can see here, the C1, we have to provide a isolated footing here, isolated slope footing. Now in order to know the dimensions of this, again I would like to tell you that I have already made a video on shallow foundations. Please go and see that. The dimensions of this are already given there. Okay, just to tell you, the overall outside dimension is that I'm taking here is 1000 mm by 1000 mm, and the smaller dimension here, which is that of the column, is 200 mm by 200 mm. Again, everything is given in detail in that video. Okay, now then again, C2, C3, C4, C5, all of this you have to keep on drawing the footings for each and every column. All right, now it may so happen that two columns are very close to each other. In that case, if the in isolated footings are getting overlapped, you can provide a combined footing. Even the combined footing dimensions are given in the previous video that I'm referring to. The link is there in the description below. All right, now here comes the next step, which is we have to name each of these foundations. So here you can see F1, F2, F3, F4, F5, like that, F14. You know, the all the foundations have been named. This would be easier for you to recall whenever you are referring the this foundation plan again. All right, so next part is the diagonal check. Now here in this diagonal check, I am taking, as I told you, three footings. I am taking F1, F2, F4. If you see here, the distance between F1 and F2 is known, that is 3000 plus 1000, that is 4000 mm, and the distance between F2 and F4 is also known, that is 3000 mm. So therefore definitely this diagonal will be root over 4000 square plus root over plus 3000 square, which is nothing but 5000 mm. So diagonal check 1 is 5000 mm. So what will happen at site is, once you have marked this and this distance, you can quickly put the chain across, I mean the tape across this, and see whether this comes at 5000. If this comes at 5000, that means the position of these three columns are correct. Similarly, we can take a bigger example. Here I am going to take F5, F12 and F10. Okay, here also F5 to F12, the distance is known, that is 3000 plus 2000 plus 3000, that is 8000 mm, as well as the distance between F12 to F10 is also known, that is 3000 plus 1000 plus 3000, that comes out to be 7000. Okay, so this diagonal F5 F10 would be root over 8000 square plus 7000 square, which comes out to be 10630 mm. This is diagonal check 2. So once you have plotted all this diagonal all these footings onto the side, if you take the tape and measure this distance, then it will give you an improved accuracy. If this distance is not equal to 10630, then what you can infer is that somewhere the setting out of this or this foundation has gone wrong, so you can quickly redo this. Now why this step is very important is because the foundation is the first thing that is constructed on the site, the first thing that is set out on this site. So if this goes wrong, then the entire building will go wrong. So these checks are extremely important to be done at the very first step. So as you can see, I'll do a quick recap of this. So first you have the positions of the columns. You mark the vertical distance, center to center distance between each column. Then you mark the horizontal center to center distance between each column. Then for each column you have to provide the footing. It may be isolated footing, it may be combined footing. Here for simplicity I have only shown isolated footing. Then you have to name each and every footing, and finally you have to provide diagonal check. I mean, based on the size of your foundation plan, you can add much more foundation plan, but from a student's point of view, I think when you're drawing a foundation plan, two diagonal checks are good enough. All right, that's it for today's video. I hope you have understood something. If you have any doubts, you can write in the comments below. Thank you for your time.